Misra from Karn Consulting. It's going to be talking about preparing a business plan. So for all you people who have an aspiring badge on your visitor's pass, we'd really love to have you here because this session was designed with you all in mind. So it's talking about preparing a business plan to start your microbrewery, brewery, brewpub, or taproom. So really like all the visitors in the house to come up over here. Going to introduce panelists on stage right now. Okay, we're going to give everybody 2 minutes to try and get more of an audience because it's going to be a great session. Me. Okay, great. We're going to get started. Could I have session panelists from this? We are talking about, to reiterate, we're talking about preparing a business plan to start your microbrewery, brewpub, and taproom. We have some great panelists that you definitely want to hear from. So calling up first, Mr. Prasanna Kumar, co-founder and CEO of BLR. Could we have Mr. Teja Chukuri, managing partner of Iron Hill, up, please? And last but not least, could we please have Mr. Vinay Chandrasekhar, the founder of Longboard Brewing Company, and our favorite moderator, Mr. Manu Misra. Thank you. We could get a round of applause. Come on, we can do better, guys.
I guess we'll just get started. Good evening, everyone. Been a long day. Beer's at the end of it, though. And this one promises to be very interesting. So over the last decade and a half, the craft beer industry has grown exponentially and is here to stay. Government legislation across geographies has given us the opportunity to reach consumers in multiple formats, from starting a production brewery, supplying to restaurant partners, to opening our own brew pubs and tap rooms, and now even our own retail stores. Our goal on this panel today is to highlight the underlying planning and preparation that goes into creating and executing a successful business plan that in turn leads to the creation of a successful craft brewery. Thank you to my esteemed panelists for joining me today. Getting right into it, guys, I wanted to start off by asking how do you guys select a format and how do you go through government regulations? So what level of feasibility study goes into selecting the core business format that you start with? And as a startup, how do you effectively evaluate government regulations and the role they play in your decision making? You can start from either side, that's fine.
Check. So the question was about the government regulations, right?
So basically what happens, Prasanna, is that I speak to a lot of people in the industry, you know that, and I have had people who call me and they ask about government regulations, but they don't have it in them to actually go through the documentation or to visit a government office and have meetings. So since you guys have started with you multiple projects and all of you with very successful projects, when you started out, how did you evaluate government regulations? Did you do it yourself? Was there an agency or an agent who helped you out with it? How did it go about?
Personally, like I went through a couple of breweries, like some people like Toy and Windmills, right? So spoke to these founders, took some inputs, like what exactly that we have to start with. Then we understood that, we really can't do it ourselves as an individual. Right? There are agents in the market, but I think you'll have to be very selective in terms of whom you are choosing it, right? Because when you open a microbrewery, there are close to around 27 authorities who have to give you your papers.
Right.
Then you give it to the government to get your license, right? So I think agents are there; they can help you out.
Okay, and was it the same for the rest of you guys as well?
It's pretty much the same. For the government process, it should be followed. What are the processes? And it's the same for every brewery.
Okay. Vinay?
I think it's pretty much the same. It's a combination of getting the right agents, plus I'm blessed to meet the right people in the industry, like Prasanna pointed out. Met guys who are very passionate about beers, like our Ajay from Windmills guided me through the process, and Arvind, who started first beer club in Bangalore. So he's kind of a far distinct relative of mine. So he helped me in terms of selection of the agent, plus guiding me through the whole process. So that's a key factor in determining the government regulations. Like there are n number of licenses, which I think you can't. You can be pre-prepared to a certain extent, but after a point, when you dive into it, you'll understand what are the other licenses which are there, and I think you need a combination of both.
So the initial guidance that you guys got by visiting other breweries, meeting other brewery owners, was that pretty much broadly around the business and what you're getting into? Did they give you a snapshot of that?
Yes, predominantly we knew what businesses they're into. So before doing a detailed study of the market, they're a guiding force who tell us that these are the formalities which needs to be completed. Like in terms of licensing is one, and in terms of since we are a microbrewery as well, in terms of the raw materials purchased from different places and the kind of licensing required for a microbrewery, plus your CL9. So there are different elements to it. So once, as I said, once you deep dive into it, you'll understand the whole process and you'll want to learn more of it. It's the process. You have to enjoy the whole process rather than feeling that it's a strain in the whole thing.
Also, another part of the question.
I think, Manu, I just
Sorry.
want to add a point. See, Brewer World, I think they should start somehow indexing these points, state-wise, what exactly the licenses are required. I'm sure Brewer World today being a lot of helpful material in the online, right? I'm sure one of the editors in the Brewer World should put up this on the online website saying that if you are opening a brewpub in Karnataka, this is what you can look into it.
Brewer
my
World, please
suggestion.
take note.
Yeah, somebody from
Prasad,
Brewer
I see
World,
you
please.
smiling at me. Yeah. Wave, yes. I think that's a great point. So another part of the question was, and I'm asking this out of curiosity because in Maharashtra we have different formats. You can open a production brewery, you can supply to restaurants, of course have your own brewpub, and you can even do retail. So even in Karnataka, you guys have all gone down the brewpub route, but you would have had the opportunity to also evaluate packaging, as packaged beer as your initial product. What made you choose the brewpub route as opposed to the other one?
So those two are entirely two different business concepts.
Yeah.
So one is commercial brewing, which Bira, Kingfisher, all the other companies are doing, and one is the microbrewery concept. So when we initially started microbrewing, we started in 2012. So at the time, microbrewery was a concept which was just coming up, and at least in South India, in Karnataka, in Bangalore, we were the third one. So we wanted to take the advantage of early mover advantage. So that's the reason why we picked that field. No particular reason, like we didn't want to go commercial. And commercial is again altogether different business concept. So it's entirely different. The numbers are different. Everything is different. So it's mainly because of the timing we went for the microbrewery.
I think rightly pointed out, just to add on to it, you need to build a brand first before getting into the bottling, before kegging your beers, right? So a lot of investors approach us saying, bottling is a good option, why don't you start? But when there's no brand, how are you going to market your beers and how are you going to compete with bigger guys in the market? So that's one of the critical elements as to why we didn't get into bottling or kegging initially. It takes, I think, at least 3 to 5 years for a brand to be built and follow from the big players like Toit and Windmills. So it's been 10 years and now they're setting up their, especially in Karnataka where the licensing is a bigger issue altogether. You guys are blessed actually. So in terms of Pune and Bombay, as long as it's much more easier in terms of processes. So I think, yeah, the key factor here is the branding. And also, since setting up a bottling plant is not an easy task here, there's a certain set of rules which are here, which is 50,000 square feet of area is required. I'm sure INL is massive than that, but still, it's a different ball game altogether. And although Karnataka recently has announced a new 4,000 square feet bottling plant, which makes no sense because you can only do about 2 lakh liters for the whole for the whole year. So, which you can do it in your own outlet itself, doing a microbrewery.
Yeah, so I think what I can see is like I think Bangalore real estate is much cheaper than Maharashtra. Right. That's one of the things that impressed me to start with the brewpubs rather than a bottling plant. And so I think bottling there is a huge competition in terms of larger industry like UB Spirits and there is Heineken. There's many brands, right? Like Veera has been like heavily funded and been growing like tenfolds right now. So I think to reach there is not that easy as Vinay was saying. You need to crack your brand in the market, then probably slowly climb up to that place. Right? If you ask me that I'm going to do bottling, I don't know still.
Right. So just staying with you, Prasanna, for the next one. In your, we want to talk about investment and raising funds. So in your experience, what does it take to raise capital and assure investors that your business plan is sound? Could you give us examples of the queries investors may have put to you, or even if you in turn may have put to your partners at the start of your business?
I think today's Shark Tank is so famous in market, right? So everybody's watching Shark Tank. So that's a similar kind of questions that we all get in. The first question, the one of the funniest thing that my investor asked me, what if tomorrow Karnataka bans liquor?
Right.
And what if the government changes the regulatory saying you can't serve food and drinks together?
Yeah.
Right? These are always there, but it is not something within our hands. So we cannot really predict as in such. But when it comes to financial, I think decently anybody looks for a better returns than the market rates or your, the bank interest, right? So that's where I think you can convince investors to onboard. And looking at the assurity, right? I think that's what I think still people are not so convinced about investing in alcohol. And I think I still feel facing the challenges now.
I think there will be 2 points which the investor will always look at. One is my money safe? Second, what's the ROI? So if you have a proper business plan, I mean, some questions will be unanswered, as you're saying, like say, for example, all of a sudden tomorrow government says, stop brewing. I mean, no more alcohol. I mean, we are going to become a dry state. There's nothing much we can do. That's something which is better, I mean, better not to talk about. Yeah. So apart from that, it all depends on your business plan, your strategy, your market scope, and everything. So if you're able to study your market scope and your customer psychology or your competition in your area, and if you're able to convince your investor or yourself or your partners, I think that answers it.
Vinay, any tips on how to do that?
Yeah, I think COVID taught us a very good lesson. So we were in fact a place to be, started our place much before COVID, but I think it gave us a good path and direction in terms of what our strategy should be, how many seaters we should have in a place like Marathali. And I think time gave us that extra bit of effort in terms of finding the right investors on board. So one of the platforms which we found pretty interesting, me and my other partner who's sitting right there, Rasagna as well, is Smurgers. There's a platform called Smurgers on to raise investments. So I would suggest budding entrepreneurs or budding brewpreneurs to approach, pay a nominal amount of fee there, and you can find the right set of people, provided you put up the right business plan with the photos of the place. So one key route what we found was Smurgers. So that's a tip what I would like to give budding entrepreneurs here. And another factor is the location. I think location is the biggest advantage for, is the way to convince people and how much of research we have done in terms of the catchment area in and around Marathali or whichever area you're starting. So your biggest target market is your corporate audiences, right? So they're the spending crowd. So we did a thorough analysis on that market. So we knew what our numbers are going to be much in advance to be able to give the right number to the investors. As Mr. Teja rightly pointed out, all the investors ask when is the ROI, what is the break even. So if you're prepared for this in terms of, I think research will answer your questions.
Thank you. The next question is on building the right team. An area of constant flux in the F&B sector as a whole, and even in our industry as a new industry, craft alcobev even, is human capital. How do you source, identify, and build the team that will take your business plan to fruition? What are the key roles that you would start your hiring process with?
In terms of partnership or in terms of the whole process, you mean to say?
In terms of the process, but in terms of the team you're building around the brand?
Okay. I can classify broadly into two categories. In terms of partnership, it's just that you need to find the right set of people who you can work with, the right wavelength, right? So I was blessed to find the right partners. One who has a very good location, comes with a background of IT, and who listens, and the other person who's in the food industry as well helped in terms of creating the right set of partners. The foundation was laid from there, and I come with a passion of beers. So that's what, when you're doing a microbrewery, you need to have passion at the end of the day for beers, for food, for the restaurant industry as such. So the foundation is the key, and post that, I think everything will fall into place if you have that vision and passion, right? So you will go, we did a thorough analysis by visiting all the other breweries around, finding what kind of food they're serving, what kind of beers they're serving, and taste the items in every place in Bangalore, right? And see what is missing, what is a state lacking, what is a country lacking, basically, that particular area, and what is it known for, what food item sells the most. So we came up with an interesting thought process of saying, why don't we provide everything to the customer right there, like all the food items, because we see a lot of people eating outside and drinking in one place. So we don't want that kind of culture when you're starting a place like this. So hiring the right set of chefs who are experienced in their own categories, right? Rather than having a good master chef, you can have good sous chefs in different backgrounds who can cater to the needs of that. For example, for coastal, we got a guy from Kundapur. Kundapur is known for coastal food. So cracking those elements of it is what I think will guide you through.
Also, just to add on, when you're doing that market research yourself, you're going to other places, looking at what they're known for, coming back and distilling that down to your own team. There's, of course, the back of house team, which is the chefs, and then they kind of understand what you want to do, how you're going to differentiate yourself. What about your front of house team, the guys who build the operations, the day-to-day team that actually is customer facing?
Again, finding the right side. When you visit places, you see the right side of people, and you're confident. Like, you meet them and you learn from them. They will guide you through, and they'll put you across through different people who are good in the industry. So that was one way of finding the right talent in the industry. And LinkedIn is another platform where you can get registered with and find good resumes around in those categories as well. So yeah, I think we were blessed in a way to find the right people. And finding the right general manager who can take like 50% of your workload initially. So hiring the right front-end staff, the receptionists. So there was the kind of depth we got into is I'd been to Beer Library once, and then I found the guy, he was able to interact with multi-languages, like he can interact in Kannada and Telugu. That's what the customer feels happy about, right, at the end of the day. So you go and talk to a customer and in your local language, and the customer will feel like having more beer or more food. That increases your revenue. So that's how we cherry pick a team to build a place like ours.
Your team is all that defines your business, because they're the people, they're the real face of your business. We are just at the back end. So selecting your team is the most important thing. So you might have a vision and you might have a strategy, but your team is the real people who are going to implement your vision and your strategy, and they are the people who is going to face the customer or understand the customer. So hiring the team, I prefer to hire the top level team first, and from there to go to the bottom level. So you can get their advice also, since they can advise you to hire better people, or they can find resources. They can help you in finding resources, proper resources. So. And now we have more than we do all the hiring internally. So because we are more than 2,000 people now. So most of that goes by reference for us. So, and in COVID is the time when your team, I mean, you really know the value of your team. So that's when the team stood by us. And
I guess people like Arnil, 2,000 people is a massive number. I don't know how we're managing it. I seriously can't. I think for me, the way of recruiting, right, I kind of following everybody's pattern saying, let me hire a general manager, let me hire a captain, let me hire a steward, let me hire a commissary. But I think I was going somewhere wrong, looking at the same pattern. So I think we internally understood that, we start looking at it in a different aspect. So let us look at in a way we are hiring by solving some problem inside our company, right? So I stopped forgetting about the designations. Then, okay, I have a problem now, how do I fix it? So that's how I started recruiting people. With surveys, I think I don't even hire anymore with the questions randomly. I asked him just, have a conversation with me, like, just talk about your life, just talk about your personal life, anything, right? So that's the way I believe selecting the right people might stick on with you and, might stay for longer with you also. People, times like COVID, I think a lot of people stick on to us because of the same reason. Right? I didn't value for their experience more than that. I think I valued for their what skills they're good at. Right? And coming to the chef's part, right? I think there are people who are almost 50 years old and there are 60 years old chefs with me still working. I had a previous place, I had to shut it down because of COVID. But still, team came with me saying that, yes, I think we are at the right company and we want to grow with you. Right? So these are the right people I think should be in the part of the company on your growth.
I think those are some great inputs. So next question is a little close to my heart. I'm going to ask you something around the concept of marketing. How do you go above and beyond to differentiate yourself? We are a new industry, we're a fast expanding industry. So how do you go above and beyond to differentiate yourself from the competition in an industry where everyone promises to make never seen before beers with the best ingredients, no shortcuts? What, according to you, is the USP that you've created with your brand?
I think these guys are the experts in that. Rapidly they kept expanding and.
so in marketing, there are two things. One thing is a product, and since we are in the service industry, actually we are selling experience, not the product. It's a whole package. So for example, your food is good, your beer is not good, or your food and beer are good, but your service is not good. So any of those components is not good, it doesn't work. So on a whole, we call it an experience. So we are in the business of selling experience, not the product. Product is just a part of what we sell. And coming to beers, the beers we do is a lot different from the Western beers. Western beers are more bitter in taste and more stronger. So our palate is not so bitter. We can't take so bitter beers. So that's the reason why we even tried once IPA, but we are not able to sell it. So, we know bitter won't sell, but still we wanted to try. Why not? It didn't work. So we understood we shouldn't go against the market, give what the customer wants rather than trying something new. And with the subtle flavors, what we do, we understood the flavor of our market. And since we are spread across different states, for example, Karnataka is a different palate. And if you go to Andhra, whatever beer doesn't sell in Karnataka sells in Andhra for us. So again, that's a different strategy for us. So Hyderabad is different for us. So in India itself, there are a lot of different palates for us. So every area is new. Every state has their own food, their own palate, their own taste buds. So you understand the taste buds of the local people and on a whole, package it in a proper way and sell it as an experience.
Yeah, I think just to add on to what the experts have said here, I think we need to do something very different when we have a massive giant like INL right in front of us, right? So we're still not competitors at the end of the day because he's got his own market and we've got our own market. But there should be that differentiator element as to why you're so different. And after a certain point of time, people are going to ask you like how you're different from INL. I'm sure he will face the same questions as well. So we had initially when we started off doing the project, we were thinking of just doing a 350 seater project. But when we saw the giant coming up, we said, okay, let's scale it up more. And we saw the potential, what he had. And what is that element which gets the people inside, right? Some kind of attraction, which is the waterfall for us. We have the world's, India's largest waterfall, 25 feet fall. So that is one of the USP of longboard in terms of making it go wild, right? So Instagram plays a major element in social media. So all you have to do is do a nice waterfall, and then people will come automatically and take pictures with the Bangalore weather being nice to us always, right? So that is one key element what we did a little different, although we ended up spending more on that particular element. But it's kind of working in terms of getting the right crowd inside. But crowd comes in once for the ambience and the vibe, but what keeps them coming back again is your food, the quality of food and quality of beers. So try to focus, as a microbrewery, your focus should be to sell more beers at the end of the day, right? What do you do in terms of marketing for the beers? So we're doing a beer channel, something different and quirky. We are introducing the brewer, and today there's a video out where I myself have got into the beers and explained what a stout is and what a Berliner Weiss is. We did a sour beer. So it's the way you market on Instagram, which will get back crowd. So remember this conversation when I went to the north part of India. There's a guy who's, entire two cities, they want to see examples of Bombay and Bangalore and bring that culture into their place. How are they getting to know about that? It's through Instagram. It's about how the posts are going viral. So do something which is very out of the world in terms of how you're going to place your market. At the same time, educate about your product through a funny communication channel. So for the same instance, like what Teja pointed out, the market for bitter beers in India and Bangalore is pretty low, and the cost of making that beer is also on the higher side. Like if you want to do an IPA, it's more than any of the beer. But again, there's your regular, since we are in the heart of IT, there's a lot of foreign crowd which comes in, and they love that IT. I remember there's a German guy who walked into our place, he said, this beer transported me to Germany. So you have to cater to those customers as well. And so for that fact, we launched a beer called Zero IPA, not Zero IPA. So what it means is zero bitterness. So you're playing around with the flavors of hops and malts, and you're not adding any sweetness to it. So that is the marketing element what we did in terms of promoting. We have a palette for the sweeter audience. We have a palette for the kind of a regular audience as well. And we did a stout which takes you back to the old days of having chocobar ice cream. So it's a chocobar stout. So play around with these elements, and you can crack the code.
I think something I want to highlight about my third locations in JP Nagar, right? So it's a small location. It's not like a gigantic 1 acre or maybe a 25,000 square feet like our other two outlets, right?
I like what your concept of small is. Please come to Pune and Bombay and say 24,000 square feet.
That's the reason I said I chose Bangalore for a brewpub, not for the bottling. Right. So this place, I think we had a challenge because of a lot of competition in the same line. And our brewer, who is Umang Nair, I'm sure everybody knows him here. And a lot of breweries from Maharashtra, I think we wanted to collaborate with them, right? And many people came and said, yes, let's do something together. Let's come up with a new beer, which nobody has tried. Wherein we BLR and Kimaya, BLR and Two Down, right? So we collaborated with many beers. And recently we also collaborated with a band, saying that let's collaborate with the band and create a beer. And our partners were like, what are you guys doing? Are you stupid? Like, we are not stupid. Let's do something collaboration. Like, let's understand what band likes. So they said, we like filter coffee. We like cherries. So Umang came up with the idea, let's do something with filter coffee. Right? So we called it beer name as Loco Coco. I think this kind of content worked for us, our third outlet, to market the beer better.
I'd just like to add that I was at BLR in December, and we've done a lot of collaborations over the years, and Maharashtra is a very collaborative state. It's far easier doing it there as well. And but this is the first time that, and I was with Oliver, Oliver, and we dropped by for a pint, and it was the first time that we saw this beautiful booklet created with a double spread page for every collaboration, talking about their likes, their dislikes, how the beer came about, what was unique about it. And you literally had that same double page for every collaboration you had. And I think I had some 6 collaborations on tap.
Yeah, 6 beers, 6 taps were the collaborations and 6 were Umang's beer.
And I think I had beers with 3 of your collaborators outside today. So it was very well done. That is definitely something that you don't see very often.
All of us should do that, right? I think you should work with another brand and collaborate. It's okay. I mean, everybody has an ego saying that I have to grow faster. But let's collaborate and grow together. I believe in that. Sorry, no offense.
You can.
That's the vision what we at Longboard also was looking at. You know, speaking with the master brewer Karthik, we have the same vision as what you have as well. So, craft brewing in Bangalore in India as such is a very passionate industry, very well knit industry, right? So it's we are there to promote each other as well. At the end of the day, although we are fierce competitors out in the market, but at the end of the day, it's passion for your beers, passion for your food. So why not do a collaboration? So we are also planning of having 1 or 2 tanks to do a collaboration beer with the windmills or any of the breweries all around, so that we can promote their beer at our place and they can promote our beer at their place. So that's a future forward for craft brewing in Bangalore as well.
So for my last question before we open this out to the audience, I want to talk about future expansion and business modeling. Now, as you go along, you may have opportunities for multiple revenue streams. You may diversify into other formats or even expand into new markets. How and when does your business plan convert to a sustainable business model that factors in assured growth? I know you said that I don't know when my beers are going to be packaged, but maybe if you can take a stab at it.
I think I'm very fond of creating tap rooms in Bangalore.
Yeah.
I think that's the model that I think we want to take it further, because I really don't know how bottle industry works. With a few people that I have interacted, and they have already told me, please stay away from it. It's not a margin that you can actually generate from how you compare with a brewpub. I think I would like to expand in this format like a tap room, right?
So even with the taproom concept, when do you decide that the time is right for me to open a second location on the other end of Bangalore maybe, or even go to a new geography altogether?
Presently, we are at locations where we have very minimal competitions. We are at Electronic City, we are at Kanakpura Road, and we are at JP Nagar. So now we are also expanding 2 more locations again with a different location where it's not too crowded, right? I want people to come and appreciate our beers and the food. Just not come like you have a multiple place, you hop in here, you hop in tomorrow there. So that is something I'm looking at. A location is a better thing, right? So I think there is a market for Brewpub, if I'm not wrong.
And Teja, with your team and the size of locations that you've opened across multiple geographies, we'd love to hear your opinion on when you thought that it was the right time to expand to new territories.
So, territories means geographical territories or business territory?
Pardon me?
Geographical or business territory?
Both.
So geographical, we are still looking. We are looking at multiple options now. So we have a 5-year plan already set in place. So most likely by end or mid of next year, we should be doubling the number of outlets we have. And so coming to other streams of revenue. So the one thing we have is we sell is beer, other is food. So those are our own products, and other than that, alcohol is the same thing what you get anywhere. So in beer, the issue is what you can do is you can package it, either bottle it or can it or keg it. So when you go for a commercial size of brewery, which is bottling, most of the commercial breweries are run with investors' money. At least until first 8 years, they'll be in losses. That's like a thumb rule for commercial brewery because of the market share they need to get to come into profits. It's like Bira till last before year, they were in losses, and they're heavily funded. It all runs on funding. So we are as of today not ready to get into that funding model, because it kills you from the other side. So it's better to do what you're doing, and there is not much competition or much stress in what we are doing. So the areas what we are picking are kind of like virgin areas. So we are getting in a competitive advantage there. So we are happy with what we are doing, and we are trying to explore other revenue options, but we are not yet decided this is the way we want to go. We are exploring like positives and negatives of everything now. So we are in that phase right now.
I think just to add on to what Teja said, I think if you look at Brewdog's strategy as well for India, along with INL's strategy, they're planning to expand in tier 2 cities where you get your land for a cheaper price, and the labor is available. Everything is available at a cheaper price compared to the urban areas, right? Again, the market potential is not that great as an urban area, but you'll get the first movers advantage in that particular area, and that's one of the strategies which we have thought about, but we have not, gone in deeply into it. So that's a good places like Belgaum or places like Mysore, especially with the new expressway which is coming, where you can reach 45 minutes. So people want an experiential place. So that would be a better expansion strategy rather than bottling, because again, your bottling is a whole different game altogether, and your brand needs to be built. And where we can take advantage of the 4,000 square feet rule, which the government is proposed here, is I think, say something like what we have launched, the Not Zero IPA. We can extend our land parcel to another 4,000 square feet and try and test that beer out in the market and see how it goes, and then build upon it. So people places like Geist and Toit have got into bottling after 9 or 10 years of being in the industry, and there's a specific reason for that, because it's a very competitive market. You need to build the right audience and the right brand to it. So as of now, I would see the safest strategy would be to expand into areas which offer you cheaper land and cheaper labor, like Tier 2 cities within Karnataka, within India, and then take it forward from there. Another important strategy would be also to set up, if Karnataka permits, a kegging license for us, and then we can do smaller outlets with no equipment costing and no license costing. But as of now, that particular license is pretty expensive in the market, so it's not a viable option in terms of setting up a plant in Bangalore or in Karnataka per se.
Thank you so much, guys.
Just to add a point.
Yeah,
so
sure.
after the pandemic, right, so we had a lot of takeaways happening from the breweries. So that time, I think the excise department came and asked all of us, saying that you want to really continue doing this so that, we increase your duty. I think most of them said that, no, we don't want to do that. It's better people come in. Because some people like, small brand cycles, I couldn't even sell 100 liters a day. Right? But somebody like Toy, who's always been there for 10 years, they could sell almost 400 liters a day. Right? I think that is the only reason Maharashtra has both commercial and kegging both.
Just to add, you have a valid point there, but to add on to how that helps is you can start up another outlet and supply your own beers there, and it need not be a bigger outlet. It can be a 300 or 200 square feet. But where you're saving up is on your equipment and your licensing. You don't need a brewing license. You can get a CL9 with an RVB attached to it. So that's where it will be an advantage for the owners of bigger spaces to expand further into the city. Apart from, I know where you're talking in terms of selling the beer out as parcel to customers. That is one market which can capture. But as you said, people don't get that experience of coming into a place and experiencing that. You lose a share out of that. But you can do multiple outlets in, what the same model is what Geist is doing in malls. They opened one in Leela Bharti City. So, that's a very good expansion plan.
Thank you so much, guys. We're going to open this up to the audience for any questions now.
Hello, this is Sai. I just have two questions. First one, when you said there are different pellets for different regions, what works in one doesn't work in another. So is there like a thumb rule or a market research that you guys have done, or it's just test and trial method that you go ahead with?
So there is no thumb rule. You will learn it when you enter the area. You will do mistakes. Mistakes will teach you. And the other thing is, usually, if let's say, for example, in beer, we follow the standard like wheat, lager, ale, stout, cider, like the standard set of beers. So we observe what kind of family, what beer is selling more. Like say, for example, if you go to Andhra, for us we sell ale more. In Karnataka we sell wheat more. In Hyderabad we sell lager more. So like say, for example, if you're selling wheat here, that's why in Bangalore we have 2 wheat beers all the time. So because the wheat consumers are more here. So with the 5 or 6 set of beers, we test the market, and based on that, we increase that particular set of beers.
Yeah, so that you have observed after you've gotten into the market, right? Yeah. And second question is, are you guys, when you
just to add on to your question, so it's the same way as what McDonald's adopts, right? Whenever they go to different countries are bound specifically. US doesn't like that much of spice, so when they come to an Indian market, they need to offer a spicy product. That's why they have the spicy masala burger. So you need to customize as and when in India, it depends on states also, like what Teja pointed out. So in terms of food, in terms of beers, both. So I think it's you need to customize and do. For example, we did my brewer did a pan beetle leaf beer for Arbor, so that sold out within no time. So that's again customization. And during seasonal, during summers, a lot of people get into doing summer beers, which is watermelon and very refreshing beers, and that's how you attract the crowd into it. So yeah, hope
Please
that
say
answers.
mango because half the country goes crazy with mangoes in the summer.
Yes, the mango is another option, so which is pretty famous out here.
And the second question, when you first dream of opening a place, do you visualize everything from the start, like how your place should look, the ambience, the food, and how dependent are you on consultants? And uh, do you go by the gut or do you go by the expert opinion when there is a clash? And how how accommodating would you be to change of what you have envisioned in your mind? I mean, uh, how does that work? I mean, as an entrepreneur, when you first start your first outlet, I'm pretty sure we all have ideas in our head. But when experts come and tell you something else, how accommodating are you and how rigid are you on those ideas, and how does that work? How did that work for you? I just wanted to know as an experience.
Yeah, I think it depends on the experience, what background you come from, right? So if you're not from the architectural background, if you're not from the construction background, better leave it to the person who's able to handle that element well in your partnership. That's why partnership plays a key important role, because each partner adds a value to what they're getting on terms of board, and apart from the money invested. So when you get a consultant, I would say the best strategy would be to do your due diligence and research pretty well before. If you don't know about the particular topic, go to places, see the architecture, see the you visualize certain things, and if the guy is not able to deliver that, and if you're sure that that works for you as an entrepreneur, why not? I mean, why not convince the consultant, although he's got that experience, because you believe in your product at the end of the day. If you don't believe your product, then you're not going to set up huge places.
And just as a consultant myself, plug. No, I'm just saying that a consultant shouldn't only come to the table with data points. A consultant should come to the table with answers. So if the consultant understands the experience that is being built, then you're working towards that experience. The end goal is the experience. So I wouldn't necessarily say one is right, the other is wrong. It's about how you can collaborate to reach the best representation of the experience that you have in your mind. Do we have... Okay. We're going to take one more question. We're a little pressed for time, but I'm sure I'm going to grab a beer with my fellow panelists outside, and you can catch them, catch me, all of us in the beer tent.
Hi, this is Ram here. I just wanted to know from your retail... Is it okay now? Yeah. I just wanted to know from your retail experience, because all of you have a Brewpub, and you, Mr. Teja, you have multiple. What is the APC in terms of beer, craft beer? Just average it out. You don't have to be very specific. And Mr. Teja, you please answer from one city to another city. What is the APC for beer?
So APC depends on the state, depends on the city. Like say for example, Hyderabad, for us Hyderabad is the highest APC in South. Second comes Karnataka, third comes Andhra. So when you compare the city-wise, Bangalore is a much bigger city than Hyderabad, and the population is also much more.
In numbers, if you can.
Numbers, Hyderabad is around 2,000 plus is the APC. Only the beer?
Yeah, only the beer. Average per customer. Just one person, how much beer do they drink?
Oh, how much beer consumption?
Consumption, yeah.
That's the say. APC means the billing per customer, how much a customer is spending. So that's what I
I
thought.
was specific craft beer APC alone.
Craft beer, on an average, 3 glasses, 1.5 liter.
Longboat and
I think it depends from market to market. So in Bangalore, I think, yeah, it's a, yeah. So it depends on the audience. For us, like, because we are situated, both of us situated in Marathali, the crowd there is more inclined towards food, more than beers and cocktails, right? So APC for food is much more on the higher side compared to the beers. But somewhere in the borderline of 1 to 1.5 liters per customer is what, is our APC is, which roughly translates to about 275 rupees is a liter. Say about 1,100 of, of the APCs per customer. So it's a very vague term because not everyone who walks into a place like ours drinks beer every time, right? So few of them come in for the food, but on an average, including the food and beer, somewhere between 1,500 to 1,800 APC.
windmill.
I think in the Bangalore itself, it differs from area to area, right? Location to location. In JP Nagar, I see a good trend of 3 to 4 pints for a consumer. And I think for Kanakpur Road, I see only 2 pints a consumer. Electronic City, I see 3 to 4 pints a consumer. Right? I think Bangalore itself has a different location-wise differentiation.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vinay, Tejam, and Prasanna for all your insights. And if there are any other questions, you can catch us for a pint.
As for a microbrewery,
Minimum. Actually, I'm running a cafeterias in Hyderabad actually.
I think as per my knowledge, I think you can open a microbrewery with starting from 10 crores up to 100 crores.
A retail outlet, sir, at least.
What is retail outlet?
Retail outlet or retail outlet, sir.
Retail outlets are in Maharashtra.
Acha, in Hyderabad.
So tap room should not cost you so much. I think you can open a tap room within a crore also if you get a good location.
Okay.
Right? So you can partner with somebody wherein they have a space to share with you, like say around 5,000 square feet. You can still take an RVB license and do a tap room.
Okay.
And today I think Bira, Toit, many people are giving a broad BS, right?
Okay. And one more thing, sir, if we are freshers or startups, right? So where we can explore these learnings, microbrewery things. Is
You
there
can come
any-
to us. Our doors are open, please.
Oh, really? Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
I think the best way to explore that is travel to places, right? Travel to all the microbreweries in and around India, and why not outside India as well? You'll get more exposure. I think that's how craft brewing is picked up in India as such. The more the travel you have, then you'll know what an IPA is and what kind of taste goes into that particular beer. So the best way to assess that is travel and find out by yourself. It's a journey for you from the start to the beginning. So that would be the best thing. And again, you were saying about setting up tap rooms, right? So India has not reached that market where you're having 50 or 100 beers in a tap, where US is, right? So if you look at the players, it's just been Toit, it's been Geist, and Bira. So you can probably get it, but it's when you can produce a liter of beer for about 60, 70 rupees, you have to buy it from them at about 350 rupees. That's where you're losing your share out in terms of, but again, that offsets on your capex of your equipment costing. So in terms of investment, you need to figure out what is the right approach. You want to invest more on the capex side of it when you know your margins are higher on the beer per liter, right? So if you don't want to spend too much on the capex, then tap rooms would be the best option for you. But again, you're going to spend out more in terms of selling it to the customers.
Being cognizant of the clock and concerned looks, I think we'll close the panel there. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to the panelists for sharing their experience.
Manu Misra, you've already gotten yours. So virtually, thank you again. I would really, really like to present the next three. Thank you so much for making this a great session. I do feel a lot of value add has happened because we do have a lot of people who registered as aspirants as our visitors. So I'm pretty sure there's been a panel over there. So to Mr. Prasanna Kumar, Mr. Teja Chakuri, and Mr. Vinay Chandrasekhar, thank you so much for completing this panel for us. Could we get a round of applause from everybody here, please? Thank you so much. And with this session, we are done with the conference. We do move on to a workshop that people have registered for. This is going to be a workshop with Fermentis, which is going to begin in the next 5 minutes.